Today we're at the intersection of miniatures and actual D&D tabletop play. Now you probably already have some dragon miniatures for your game, or you're at the point where you're considering getting some, if nothing else, because dragon miniatures are cool. Even if your players aren't veteran D&D players, generally speaking, the idea of a dragon attack or conquering a dragon, that's been a cultural concept for a very long time. So, for a different perspective, here are just some of the ways that I use dragons in my games to keep my players on their toes and to keep everything a little bit more interesting.
Sometimes you can find inspiration simply by going through your miniatures. This is an old Hasbro volcanic dragon, and it just looked so cool. It ended up being the centerpiece of a dungeon crawl, being a dragon statue creature whose evil permeated an entire area. This bookish dragon ended up being a NPC in a dungeon crawl where the gold dragon was so obsessed about learning ancient knowledge for the betterment of the surrounding area, it basically completely ignores everybody else and everything else because it feels that its scholarly tasks are that much more important than what the PCs are interested in doing. So therefore, it's a chance for sort of a more social interaction with players being able to use their social skills and powers to sway this bookish dragon. And of course, undead dragons. Who doesn't love a zombie dragon or a Dracolich? They're the best. I always make sure that any undead dragon has magic cast on them, so they appear as living dragons, just to give my players a little bit more of a surprise. Anyone powerful enough to create a zombie dragon might want their nature hidden, and of course a Dracolich would want their true nature hidden as well, because, you know, there's different strengths and weaknesses, and it makes no sense for a intelligent undead dragon or something intelligent enough to create an undead dragon to just leave it walking around looking like an undead dragon. That's just me, though. And of course, having something like this King Ghidorah toy, which I clumsily converted into a D&D miniature, well, it's easy because if you go online, there's probably a bunch of different people that have created stats for all the Godzilla monsters for any edition of D&D that you might want to use. And if you're wondering why King Ghidorah is now in your D&D setting, well, I mean, come on, think about it. Godzilla probably beat him. King Ghidorah needs to rest up a little while and maybe take advantage of another realm and go and take over another realm that doesn't have Godzilla there to protect it. So yeah, that's all the reason you need for having King Ghidorah suddenly appear in your D&D game. Lesser known dragons. I painted up this Dungeons and Lasers dragon like a gray dragon because I really like the lore behind the gray dragons, and it's interesting to throw an enemy at the players and maybe they haven't really heard of a gray dragon before, or it's something that's kind of rare and interesting compared to, like, you know, what maybe they've been dealing with recently due to the popularity of the chromatics and the metallics. But that's a good lesson now that there's so many sort of just generic style dragons out there available. You can really paint up any sort of obscure or lesser known dragon that you want. If you want to learn more about dragons, check out Dungeon Dad's video on the Gray Dragon and Purple Dragon. I painted up this Shadow Dragon to look like a Purple Dragon, which now I feel foolish. It is technically a Purple Dragon that they relabeled as a Shadow Dragon for the unpainted version. So that's my bad. That was always a Purple Dragon, so I painted it the correct color. And I know for a fact I'm going to use this Iron Dragon, the old Hasbro Iron Dragon, for a very special encounter that's coming up soon.
Pool of Radiance spoilers. A lot of you watching this video were not born when this whole thing was written up. So, spoilers. Just in case. Just letting you know. I'm going to spoil it.
Everyone knows that metallic dragons, such as this gold dragon, are always good. Or generally good. It's in their nature to be good. But In the Pool of Radiance storyline, Tyranthraxis, aka the Possessing Spear, aka the Flamed One, possessed the body of a good dragon to further its own wicked goals. Now, obviously, it was some sort of demonic or perhaps devilish creature. I think this is actually more of an outer planar creature, something that really doesn't fall in between the dichotomy of devil or demon. Clearly a cruel, ruthless, and intelligent creature, though. By taking over the body of a bronze dragon, this creature was not only able to raise a massive army of evil creatures, but he was able to easily fool most adventurers who were so overwhelmed to be in the presence of a metallic dragon that they just assumed that it had to be a good creature. And Tyranthraxis took full advantage of these preconceived notions. And thus, this is my most devilish and evil DM way of using dragons, to utilize metallic dragons that player characters and players would mostly assume have to be good creatures. But even good creatures can be taken over by powerful extraplanar creatures who bend their wills to evil means. And yes, this is exactly the scenario that I've set up several times, and never once have the players seen it coming. So there you have it, everybody. A couple of different ways to utilize dragons and miniatures. Now, I was thinking about it, and I thought that maybe having the Bookish Dragon be the start of an encounter, and then if the players can use either their intuitive skills or perhaps spells to figure out that the dragon isn't telling the truth. And then eventually they kind of realize that the gold dragon is somehow evil. And then once the demonic entity realizes that its ruse has been spoiled, it will then attack, turning from the Wildspire Bookish Dragon into the gold dragon from the Tanaris miniature that I have. Thus, I'll be able to use both of my gold dragons, which normally would, of course, be good dragons. I don't know if the Tanaris gold dragon is good or not. It doesn't really strike me all much. I haven't researched that much. All I got was the miniatures out of that. I didn't get any of the supplements for that. I basically kicked that for the miniatures only because that's what I wanted. So, but yeah, it certainly strikes a very evil pose, what with the spikes and whatnot. So that's a good opportunity to use both of those miniatures to the fullest effect in a game. And yeah, you always got to think. I always allow my players the chance, if they smell a rat or they feel that something isn't right, if they want to investigate that and they do it within the rules and they do something that makes sense, I allow big spoilers like that to be achieved earlier, which I think you can settle in a number of different ways. I might actually, as a thought exercise, write out this entire encounter and put it as a supplement in my community page for the people that back this channel by becoming channel members, which you can do for $1. There's already a bunch of lovely PDFs on there, including a bunch of monster PDFs. There's a bunch of the D12 item sheets, and there is the one little bare bones adventure thing, and there's a bunch of cool stuff in there. So yeah, if you're interested, pay the $1 membership and check out the members community page for all the PDFs that you want to download. Alright then, thanks for watching the video, and I will see you later.
Thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you next time!